Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brad from the Ed Army, and today I want to talk to you really quick about Xros Heart and why this deck may be one of the best decks in the format, but also should you guys get this deck because it's really good. So without further ado, let's get into it. But before that, leave a like, comment, and follow the Ed Army. We're on Instagram, YouTube, Rumble, and we're trying to grow it out. So let's get to it. Now, Xros Heart as a strategy is one of these decks that I really enjoy. However, some people may hate Xros Heart, and I kind of understand why. Whether it's not necessarily being a fan favorite strategy because people don't like cross wars, and also people not really enjoying this, basically the almost, well, we never had the tier 0 format, but I can understand people being afraid seeing the tier 0 format that took place in the OCG. I would just like to say that Xros Heart as a deck is still really cool. Now, the reason I wanted to bring up Xros Heart is that a lot of people that I've met have been kind of disgrunting Xros Heart for the metagame, as they think that something like Hunters is better. However, I'd have to argue I think Xros Heart may just be a little bit better than Hunters for the reasons that I'll list off today. Now, I actually like both decks, and I'm going to be playing Hunters, and I've just started playing Xros Heart for not too long, and to me, I think both play strategies have their own merits. However, this is why I wanted to bring it up, is that when you look at what Xros Heart does, it's really one of these decks that takes advantage of an early, mid, and late game strategy. Now, it's hard to, kind of point that out to people when you're trying to explain that, but I'll explain it the best way that I can. And it's like this. With the effect that Pixmon has, any of your rookies essentially can be put into the breeding area to draw that one card for the evolution cost, obviously that you're going to get. But once it comes out to the field, if you haven't already pre-established Tamer, this card will be, or the rookie itself, will be able to basically swing and net you a card. So it'll net you that draw. Then, if it actually gets deleted and he dies in the battle, the benefit you'll get from there is that since all of the Xros Heart rookies, for the most part, share the save mechanic, they will be able to save underneath that Tamer, and you essentially have not lost any card advantage. However, you've generated it instead. Now, why I say that's really good is that in the early game, this basically lets you put early pressure on your opponent, because not every deck, at least in the format, wants to do early swings if it doesn't have to. Based solely on the fact that it really wants to pressure your opponent with probably mid to late game swings when the stack is fulfilled, or whatever the strategy is to put pressure. In this case, with Xros Heart, you're able to continuously pressure your opponent with a new strategy that they're not necessarily able to adapt to. And if you're basically swinging on like your second turn and you hit maybe a security bomb they were trying to give you or use and hope for the best, if you hit it early, it's better to get rid of it than it is to deal with it on the late game. So I just want to get that across first. This is kind of one of the reasons I think Xros Heart is really strong in that manner for the early, mid, and late game. Now, when I get into the mid and late games, is when I talk about basically why it's so good. The digi-crossing mechanic, as you can see with Xros 4, Xros 3, and all the other parts of the deck, really allow this deck to take advantage of old resources in conjunction with Taiki Kudo, which is the Dex and Theme Tamer that I think is the most important. We also have the White Tamer, the Trio Tamer of Kira, Nene, and Taiki, which allows you to do basically the same thing that Taiki does for the deck, but Taiki lets you search, basically slot sources underneath it for its future of using Digicross, and allows you to suspend him to use materials from other Tamers as Digicrossing materials. So that's basically one of the key things that allows something like Xros Heart to be so strong. Now, the reason I want to tell people that they should probably not, ignore this deck is that this deck can easily win a game if you're not paying attention. As I can see, a deck like Hunters really wants to get set up before it goes into the, it's basically winning strategy. A deck like Xros Heart will take advantage of those turns for setup and deal in lots of damage and maybe even finish the game in that time. I haven't seen it in a while since Xros 4 has actually been, limited, but there were times that people could actually, finish the game extremely quick in conjunction with Xros 4, and yeah, it was pretty tough to to deal with a lot of that memory, especially if you drew well. Now, one of the cons I think this deck has is that there are cards that can counter it. In my deck currently of Raid War Greymon that I'm building, I've incorporated 2 copies of Solarmon, which, if you guys don't know, Solarmon basically reads your opponent cannot reduce play costs, and this is really good against Xros Heart, but also good against Hunters, as I do think that card in Solarmon is going to allow me to stop this massive push because if you had to play out like Cross 4 for 9, you probably wouldn't do it. If you had to play out like King Shoutmon for 5 cost and give me so much memory, it makes it a lot harder to do that because you can't reduce the memory cost in Hunters. So I just wanted to put it out there, guys. This deck is really strong, but at the same time, it does have counters. But it brings me to the last part I want to talk about. Should you pick up Xros Heart? Xros Heart is very cheap. If you actually want to get into the game and get into competitive Digimon, I do think Xros Heart is a strategy that you should look into, because this deck, for me, was, I think I was able to put it together for under, like under 20 bucks, I think. Something crazy like that. So yeah, and it does really well. It's not like the best deck because I'm not the best at piloting it right now because I've just been playing it for a couple of weeks. But I've been watching it for a couple of months just because I've been busy, guys. But ultimately, I wanted to talk to you that Xros Heart is an amazing deck. And if you want to get into it, there'll be other videos that I might link to down below from other content creators, because I do think there's a lot of other content creators who are more well-versed than I am about it, and they can get you going where you need to. But this is me. This is Brad signing off. And for all of you out there, to sign on.